are really, really glad to have yet another guest with us. And today we're talking Web3. Now, Web3 has been titled the future of the internet. Now, that term encompasses a multitude of areas spanning crypto, non fungible tokens, decentralized autonomous organizations, or DAO, and DeFi, as well as the metaverse. So, hopefully, by the end of this episode, we'll know the key differences between the three and be able to navigate the space a little better. Am I right?
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
So let's start with our guest today. He is someone that I was looking forward to speaking with for quite a while because he actually has his own um, Medium page, right? You're on Medium. You have your own Medium page, right? And you've been writing
Yeah, definitely.
articles.
Yeah,
You've written articles. He's written articles such as "Seeing Bitcoin Get Beyond a Get Rich Scheme," and he talks a lot about cryptocurrency, especially going back down memory lane to how Bitcoin's creator never stated in Bitcoin's white paper that creating wealth for people was one of the reasons why he created Bitcoin. Wow. I didn't even think about that. I'd never thought about Bitcoin even having a white paper. I just thought the mother of all coins, or is it the father of all coins,
yeah.
just exists for some reason. But we've
No,
come way past that now. Am I right?
yeah, yeah, we have. It wasn't actually the first trial of a digital coin. So
Really?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Before Bitcoins, there were other
You
trials
you
that
just
failed, and what made them failed was because they were digitalized. So it's just they were kind of like our banking system that they have like a central body verifying transactions, so they could easily be closed down by central by the governments and central banks and all that. So what the major invention Satoshi Nakamoto, which are like the people, the person or the people who kind of built Bitcoin, the major invention they did was the decentralization, not giving anybody the power to have like a central authority. So it's like if you're trying to like clamp down on, like you have to like every node, find me in Nigeria, find someone in the US. So it's kind of very difficult to like, so it's really giving the government issues to kind of stop. So many people can run this thing, it's decentralized, everybody you can attack. So that was like the version Bitcoin
mm.
came with. And so other cryptocurrencies follow suit.
So now, the person we're speaking with today is someone who is a software engineer. He's been able to work for several technology companies, both home and abroad, over the last 5 years. And he's also passionate about Bitcoin, as you can already hear, and as well as blockchain. And when it comes to dedication, he applied for Qala Africa Bitcoin. Am I right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
Character
he was one
African
of
program.
12 fellows out of 837 applicants that successfully finished the program. Now, I want to hear your thoughts on Web3 and its differentiation from Web 1 and Web 2.
Okay. So talking about Web 3.0, Web 1 was basically the first iteration of the web when I think you must have you I think you experienced it before Facebook and the rest. Basically, static websites that there were no much interactions. Basically, just websites. That was Web one. Then we came up. There was Web two that came up with a lot of interactions, a lot of design. Now we can see how Instagram looks. If you compare Facebook when Facebook started to Facebook now, you can see
Mm,
that there's so Web two came with a lot of it's kind of a lot of interactions. Now you can do Zoom, you can do all that things, and so but Web three like it's like putting the features Web 1 and Web 2 together.
Hmm.
So what's
Okay.
Web 3 different is Web 2 is kind of the two are kind of controlled by a few people. We have the likes of Facebook, we have the likes of Google, we have the likes of AWS, and those are like the guys. So what Web 3 is trying to do is this thing. So many people have access to the data. Nobody really has control. Like I said, the major invention of Bitcoin was decentralization. What 3 is basically trying to do is decentralization. So what's when technology gets a new technology, definitely people will build on it. So when
Hmm. Hmm.
the old Bitcoin and Ethereum came, when Ethereum came and other cryptocurrencies, I mean, or let me say cryptocurrencies, other blockchains, they saw that they can use the technology to achieve more than just transactions,
Hmm.
more than just sending and making payments. So now they can use this to do other things too. So when the internet, which comes with, which means so many people have access to the data and data is transparent. So they can build a whole lot of apps on this in a decentralized way. Um, so let's just imagine, like I think there's this app called where startups or you can come up to, then you can like pitch your contribute to your idea. Money you have to like prove it. More than 50% of the people will before you get the money, the funding you want. But if you want to do that in Web 3, everybody can just do that with their public keys. You don't need to know the person that contributed. Everybody is centralized. I
Hmm.
might decide to contribute to your project with me, and you may need more than
Hmm.
50% before you get your money. It just makes everything is decentralized at one and Web 2. Like Web 1 and Web 2, we could see recently, I think, was it a few years ago when Zuckerberg was sued because of people's data was kind of, I think they sold people's data or something. You can see those companies are very powerful. So right now they're trying to like centralize this data, have people that powerful. That's what about basically.
Mm, mm. I appreciate the description you just gave, the example you just gave now, because this issue of data mining has become a big deal. And in the end, it does feel like these companies are not exactly social media companies anymore. They're actually
Yeah.
selling our information. But this doesn't exactly, Web3 is not going to stop the sale of information, right? It's not going to stop people from having access to our data. It's just going to create less monopoly. Is that what you're saying?
It's going to create less monopoly and it can make it more private. So if you know how to
How?
use, okay, if you know how to
How do
use
you? Mm,
Okay, let me explain. If you know how to use blockchain properly, like me, I fully understand Bitcoin. I fully understand how these things work. I can basically do a lot of transactions with being private, and you can't trace those transactions to me. But because basically the way Web 2 works, like you have to sign up, username, password, put your KYC and all. But
yeah.
Web 3, the blockchain, you don't have to do that. Like your basic identification is your public key, and your public key is
Okay.
just like cryptography, like ashes. Basically, so we have centralized and decentralized platforms.
Mm,
A lot of people do use decentralized platforms where we have the likes of Binance. I think Binance is like the most popular in Nigeria in terms of for trading. So Binance is kind of centralized, but there are also decentralized platforms where you don't have to impute KYC. All
okay.
you do is just basically public keys and private keys, and nobody knows keys, who owns the addresses, who owns the private keys, and if you know what you're doing, you know how to handle privacy in the blockchain space, you can definitely
Mm.
make lots of transactions being private and nobody can trace those transactions to you or trace this data to you.
Okay.
But
So we've had quite a big names criticize this advent of Web3. I personally think it's possibly because of the fact that maybe they will lose some of their monopoly. But hey, if a Jack Dorsey or an Elon Musk criticizes something, sometimes it could be because they're trying to give it more popularity, but sometimes they're actually really trying to shut something down. When they have that kind of money and that kind of power, making critical remarks about Web3, on whether it's going to deliver on its promise or not in terms of the level of decentralization you can actually achieve. What do you think about that?
Um, I feel every technology has been criticized one way or the other. There's not, I
Mm,
don't think in the world there have been any invention that has not been criticized. Just recently, the period when we had, what's the name of this, 5G, we can see the
mm.
controversy 5G costs. 5G caused a lot of controversy, but now everybody has started using. I think Nigeria will adopt 5G this August. I guess so. There was a lot
Mm.
of controversy. 5G caused COVID-19. The coronavirus was related to 5G. People will definitely talk, but technology is technology. Technology will definitely improve. What I see about Web3, the worst that can happen is it will improve. People will
The
improve on
worst
it.
that.
Yeah, it will definitely
Okay.
improve. It won't just disappear. It will improve on it. People will improve on it and make it better. There will definitely, it's technology. There will definitely be lapses at first, but they will definitely improve on it. But I don't think it's just going to fade away like there's no more Web3 because it's technology. I don't think when the mobile phones came out, they were criticized. When I know I was using BlackBerry at first I was so cool with the keypads. And when iPhone came out too, I was like, oh, what's this? I love my keypad. But now, like for the past 4 to 5 years, it's been iPhone also. So people are just going to criticize, but definitely they'll join the bandwagon.
Well, it does feel like Web3 has the capacity or maybe the ability to bring to an end some big giants of the Web2 age. So, what's your opinion on this?
What I'm seeing is some of them are getting involved. You can see Facebook is getting involved. Facebook recently changed its name to Meta because of the metaverse, bringing tokens to the metaverse. You can see Twitter now. Twitter are accepting NFTs, and I think Twitter now is also accepting payments. With I think they are trying to work on payments with crypto too, where you can tip people with crypto. So I see many companies positioning to actually, and definitely they will definitely lose out because we could see if you read like the internet history, there are a lot of companies get involved and they just went like they went under the bus. If you read Elon Musk when he was talking about PayPal, suggested PayPal to like the bank he was working for, and they were like, no, they're not going to do this. And look at what PayPal is today. So
Mm,
there are lots of companies trying to like get involved. I can see. I think there was a bank I saw that was kind of building their banking infrastructure in the metaverse. A lot of banks have started doing that. Some
mm.
offices, some big brands have started building their own like space in the metaverse. So people definitely get involved. Those that don't get involved will lose out because basically what matters is if people love this innovation, and we can see all over Twitter every week. There's no new like there's always a crypto news, a blockchain news there every week. So it means people
Mm.
actually love what is happening. So once there are people that love this, definitely your company can't survive without the customers. So you have to like move to the direction of what the customers are actually going to. So if any company doesn't do that, they'll definitely lose out.
So I'm thinking now with Web 1 and Web 2, a lot of people missed out. And hopefully, people now are going to learn from that experience and move into Web 3, possibly with ease. But is it really essential? Do you think it's actually something that people need to do? Uh, because in the end, most people are just concerned about their bottom line. How is this going to make people money? How is this going to improve on people's lifestyle? How is this going to make things better for the average person, not the companies now? The average
Yeah.
person moving into Web3.
Let's say right now we're in the digital age. Even teens these days have smartphones, and this is 2022. You can't easily make borderless payments from, let's say, US to Nigeria in a matter of seconds.
Mm,
It has to go through a lot of processes here and there. I think you talked about my article I wrote about clearly there that imagine
yeah.
someone is sick in the hospital and money it needs. You know how hospitals in Nigeria work? They have to see like payment before they start treating the patients. So just imagine the only way that person can abroad who has to send payments. So 3 working days or 5 working days before he gets to the hospital. And before then, I guess Nigerian hospital won't treat the person. If the person wants to die,
Hmm.
the person will have died by then.
Hmm.
But with crypto, okay, if you if you there's something called the Lightning Network, which is like a layer 2 network of Bitcoin. You can send
Hmm.
I can send Bitcoins from Nigeria to the US in a matter of seconds.
Hmm.
Like I can literally
Okay.
send money now to someone in the US, and in split seconds the person receives. That's the power of cryptocurrency. It kind of open the world, makes the world like a smaller village. So let's just assume, okay, I was doing something on a company called Things. So what they do basically, they pay you for every tax you do. So immediately after
Hmm.
every tax you get paid. So whatever tax I do, I get paid immediately, which is like the tax are like $50 immediately, and I get my payment in seconds. And I can see our traditional finances that.
Hmm. I am I'm connecting with you on many different levels, and having control over my finances is something that's very personal. Um, and a lot of people are a little worried about the fact that personal transactions and financial actions or decisions are on an open source ledger for the whole world to see. So whenever anyone brings this to me, I talk about the fact that, I am also aware if, for instance, a government official, right, has access to a certain amount of funding meant for, let's say, healthcare or education. That
Yeah.
funding, because of blockchain technology, cannot be redirected to his trip to Dubai, for
No,
instance.
it can't. It can't. It can't.
Mm.
And
So, so with
okay,
Web
sorry.
three,
Yeah.
so go ahead. Were you going to say
No,
something?
I was saying you were talking about your personal finances being in a
Yes,
public ledger. Yeah, like I
yes.
said initially, like I said before, it's basically public and private keys. So if you know how to use it, yeah, they may be there, those data, but it's basically just a cryptography, like an hash, basically like a um 30 words hash. Nobody really know who it is. The only way they can trace it to you is if you continue to reuse address.
Okay. So
If you
if,
continue
for
to reuse
instance,
the address, yeah, it's traceable.
okay, so if you don't use that same address, it's no longer traceable.
No, it's
You
not.
can just
If
basically
you,
keep exchanging.
yeah, you can just keep exchanging your addresses, and it's not traceable to you. You can see the transactions, but you don't know who has it.
Okay, fantastic. Well, that gives me a little bit more rest of mind. But the thing is, we are on Web 3 now, which basically takes you into smart contracts, so to speak, and DAOs, right? Can we touch on that? DAO?
Yeah, yeah. So, decentralized autonomous organizations are like, basically, it's just like you talk about smart contracts. Smart contracts kind of just that are being powered by codes. I would say codes basically. Contract powered. You don't need a middleman now to sign this contract. So decentralized autonomous organizations are like organizations where everything is like done on these contracts. They can specify everything, the power everybody has. They share. You can even specify the value sharing in the contracts and everything. So like it's just like a normal organization where you have the CEO, you have the CCO, and you have everything. But that's like physical. But now it's like doing everything on a smart contract. So the smart contract kind of handles everything, and using the same public key and private keys. So we have you, the CEO is like having his own public key, and everybody has their own public key. So it's flexible depending on how it's everybody gets their value wherever they are or that. So no one can be
Mm.
cheated. So if we program
Auto-
that, okay, this guy gets 10%, this guy gets 20%, this guy gets 5%, and it's done automatically. There's no middleman to change anything to cheat anyone. So the organization is basically handled by contracts. So everybody is
mm.
treated
The
fairly.
entire organization.
Yeah, yeah.
So basically, it's not just the board members that have control. Is that what you're saying?
No.
Everyone has control.
Everyone has control, but depending on how the program, the contract is built,
Wow.
depending on it.
Wow.
Some people have voting rights. Everyone has voting rights, but depending on your yeah, the power you have in it, like the
It feels like a brave new world. Honestly, I think it's almost scary how how fast things are moving. I can still remember when NFTs began, and it's just it's almost alarming how many people are still on the fence about the growth and uses of blockchain technology. Why do you think there's still so much doubt?
so much doubt. I think one is it's kind of a lot for some people to learn. It's kind of a
Hmm.
lot, and if you check it out, like if you look at Guatemala, if you look at countries adopting it, you can see a lot of things and a lot of kids even using it more. Check countries like El Salvador and Guatemala, they are teaching their children how to use these technologies. So it's easier for children to kind of learn these things and adopt to their lifestyle than adults who are already grown ups. They find it difficult to kind of adopt. But there are few adults who are tech savvy that are actually adopting to it. And I know a lot of people, even businessmen, that kind of transact with bitcoins these days. They believe it's like an easier way for them to send money to. Maybe I've seen someone who's like a businessman. I know he buys from China, so he has seen USDT as a faster way to easily send money to China and receive his goods faster. So right now he doesn't he uses USDT now. So when people actually see the use,
Yeah.
they see the use cases, and basically, um, people can't really relate to things until they have a use for it.
They
They
until
have a
they need
reason.
it.
Yeah, they have a reason of
Mm,
use it. So a lot
mm,
of importers and exporters right now are kind of using USDT and stable coins to
mm,
transact.
mm.
So I feel the need for it, they will definitely use it.
And I can't wait
You
for
want
that.
something urgently?
Yeah, yeah, very urgently abroad. The
Yeah,
best way to send it. I actually had a personal experience. A young lady trying to send a certain amount of money from the US, and we tried two or three different payment transfer platforms. There was so much red tape. By the time it got to the bank here, they said it got misdirected to somewhere, something. I had to raise I think there must have been no less than 10 emails on this matter, two Zoom meetings on this matter, that where is this money? And I was just like, so, because I had tried to convince her, look, find someone at your end instead or enthusiastic about cryptocurrency, someone who has a wallet, and have the person change the USD to USDT and let them send it. And she was adamant. It took us 14 days for that transaction. 14 days. And I'm like, why?
yeah.
Why?
That's a lot.
Why
12,
put
two
yourself through that?
weeks, 2 weeks,
2 weeks for one transaction. Something that I
two
had been,
weeks. So just
doing
imagine
in
it's for something very important.
four, 14 minutes max. could have done that transaction. Oh,
Yeah.
goodness me.
So I feel, yeah,
Mm.
when they see the need for it, they'll definitely use it.
Amen to that.
And I think governments are also on that, governments to play a part, but I feel they've looked to a kind of now taxing people instead of governments are kind of taxing profits from it.
I was going to talk
But
about
yeah,
that.
but I think yeah.
I was going to talk about that, the issue of regulation. Do you think it should have some form of regulation at all?
One way or the other, government will try to regulate because they always want to make money. The government will try to make money. So one of the reasons for that is the government will always try to take the ownership from things. And they started with it's been for drug dealers are using it and a lot of for illegal activities, but it didn't really hold water because when the statistics came out, not so many people really use for drugs. Even the physical currency, a lot of people use more physical currency for drugs.
Yeah.
The ability
I
is
was saying the ability to move cash around was was alarmingly easy for them then. S- So, are you saying because drug pushers use paper money, you're no longer going to use paper money?
yeah.
That's a question.
So I think the government always want to find a way to be in control and make money from it. So
Mm,
I feel what they would do at the end, they will definitely most countries adopt taxes. They'll find a way to
mm.
tax people from there because a lot of people have actually gotten rich from this stuff. A lot of people have become a lot of people became
Extreme.
billionaires overnight. Yeah. So then
Yeah.
you can't just allow the government can't just sit down and see people becoming billionaires and are not getting a share from it.
Mm. I'm definitely going to
So
be reading a lot more about some of your other articles,
yeah,
especially your articles on your love for Satoshi Nakamoto. Yeah, that
yeah,
guy.
I love the guy because what really made me love him. He wasn't really there to like line his pockets. He wasn't there to
Mm,
get rich. He was just trying to create a solution that feels
mm,
because I think he said the inspiration came when the 2008 inflation came when the US
mm,
government had to like bank the banks. And it was like we need to do something to like because basically the banks mess up, the customers suffer, the government assists them, and so
mm.
the end users are always the ones suffering.
Who do you think Satoshi actually is?
Nobody actually knows that's the issue. Like,
But some people suspect.
a lot of people suspect, but he has no face, and if he had a face, I think the project wouldn't have gone this far.
Hmm.
Yeah, because
So it went further because he was anonymous.
yeah, like you can't really capture him. Like there are so many faces in Bitcoin. How many people do you want to capture? And even if other blockchains are open to like come up with their faces. Like the parent coin, which is like Bitcoin, has no like face. So even though you try to stop these other ones, since the parent one is still existing, other people still build on it.
Hmm. True. True.
Other people still
Very,
build on it.
very true.
So I think
Honestly,
what it did, yeah,
it was amazing. It was amazing. But we're going to be talking a lot more about Satoshi sometime soon. I'm going to stay connected with you on LinkedIn, and I
yeah,
think
okay.
anyone out there who has questions can also ask via LinkedIn as well. Rafael Eyerin here. Thank you so much, so much for joining us on
Yeah,
today's
thank you.
edition.
As long as it's Bitcoin, as long as it's blockchain, I'm passionate about it. I always create time.
Thank you. I understand, which is why I have a podcast like this. You can't
Mm,
have a podcast like this without being this interested in blockchain
mm.
tech. All right, then. Thank you so much, Raf. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. So yeah, it's been a journey all day today. We've been through the ringer talking about Web 3, and it's because it is coming. There is possibly going to be a complete switch in how the world sees the internet very, very soon. So, yes, you've had the opportunity to hear from different people today on the importance of Web3 and the differences between Web 1, Web 2, and Web 3. And you've heard the opportunities that are within. If you are a developer, if you're a businessman, if you are someone who would like to be relevant in any space in the next 10 years, understanding a little bit more about how the internet is going to be over the next decade is very important. That's why we brought you this information today on blockchain. It's been a pleasure. Until next time, happy trading.